Here's a story from the perspective of a girl, about 5 minutes long. I never imagined that the person who would betray me the most would be my own sister. Growing up, we were close, shared everything clothes, secrets, even the same friends. But as we got older, things started to change. She became more competitive, and while I tried to ignore it, there was always a strange tension between us. It was subtle at first, little comments here and there, but eventually it grew into something much darker. We both lived with our parents until I was in my early 20s. I was working and saving up to get my own place, while my sister was still in school. She was always the more outgoing one, getting attention from everyone, especially guys. One of those guys was my boyfriend, Jason. We'd been together for almost 2 years, and I thought things were going well until I walked in on them. My sister, my boyfriend, together in my room. It felt like my entire world collapsed in that single moment. I couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. All I remember is standing there, frozen as they scrambled to get dressed, their excuses tripping over each other. I didn't even listen. I just walked out of the house and kept walking, not knowing where I was going, just needing to get away. When I finally came back home that evening, I was ready to confront them both. But instead, I found my parents waiting for me. My sister had spun the story in a way that made it seem like it was all my fault, that I hadn't been treating Jason well, that I wasn't supportive enough. I couldn't believe it. My own sister had not only stolen my boyfriend, but also turned my parents against me. They asked me to leave, saying it was best for everyone. I was in shock, completely blindsided. How could they believe her over me? With nowhere else to go, I packed a bag and left. I crashed at a friend's place for a while, and eventually I found my own apartment. It wasn't easy, but I managed. Over time, I cut contact with my sister and my parents. I couldn't bear to face them, not after everything they'd done. I focused on myself, my career, and building a new life, but the pain never fully went away. Years passed. I hadn't spoken to my family in almost 5 years when I got a message out of the blue. It was my sister. She was in trouble, something about needing a place to stay for a few days. I sat there, staring at my phone, completely stunned. The audacity. After everything she had done, now she needed my help? For a brief moment, I considered ignoring her, but I couldn't. As much as I hated what she had done to me, she was still my sister. So I agreed to meet up. When we finally saw each other, she looked different, tired, worn down by life. She apologized, tears in her eyes, saying she'd made terrible choices and lost everything. Jason had left her years ago, and our parents were in no position to help her anymore. I didn't know what to feel. Part of me wanted to scream at her, remind her of how she had ruined my life, but instead I just stood there, silently listening. She asked if she could stay with me for a while, just until she got back on her feet. It was the most awkward, painful conversation I'd ever had. In the end, I let her stay, but it wasn't the happy reunion she probably imagined. I kept my distance emotionally, letting her know that while I was willing to help her, I hadn't forgiven her, not yet, and maybe not ever, be not.